street, I bump into a lot of you. And so that was always really awesome. And just talking to really interesting people that are doing interesting things. You'd be amazed how many extraordinary black people there are who don't have a record deal. Or don't play in the NBA or or don't tell jokes for a living. We they don't tell us about those black people. They only tell us about the ones that make them laugh and can dribble basketballs and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, I met one brother, a young kid, 24 years old, who sold his app to some company for $5 million. I have seen, let's see, I met another guy who was doing trading in energy and gas and stuff like that, and he'd made millions of dollars doing that. I met some people. I went to I met the staff from a great school called Prairie State Community College, and I met the president. His name was Michael Anthony, and I had a great conversation with him. I liked him because he understood. I think I mentioned this to you all yesterday. Like he gets us, he gets me, he gets this, right? And a lot of times that's the unfortunate reality is that there are lots of us, lots of our people that are kind of stuck in these corporate plantation situations where they're almost like afraid to be independent thinkers. They're almost afraid to endorse ideas that are not sort of accepted by white people. In a way, we kind of need other people to tell us that our ideas are okay, to tell us that they're safe enough, to tell us that they're actually going to work. And in fact, actually, now that I think about that, this can really affect your economic consciousness because it's almost like you're trying to get to a destination, and it's a destination that nobody else is trying to get to. And so you get on the phone with your buddy, and you tell your buddy where you're trying to go, and they say, no, 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 you go up the street and you make a left. But in their head, they're thinking about a different destination. They're showing you how to get to Billy's bar, and you're not trying to get to Billy's bar. You're trying to get to, North Park. And but you're afraid to sort of go your own path. You go the path your buddy tells you, and then you end up where he wants you to be instead of ending up where you're supposed to be. And I think that generally that's one of the challenges that we have is when we're taught by other people what it means to be black and successful, we get it wrong. We end up getting it wrong and then we end up feeling unsuccessful. I saw a video the other day. Actually, I wanted to put this on my Instagram, but it was basically this video of a Gen Xer who was basically talking about white people who are also Gen Xers. Now, Gen X is, I think, 45 to like 58 or something, like people that were like kind of came of age in the 80s and early 90s. And she was basically expressing her disappointment in Gen X, or in white Gen X. She was basically saying, we fell in love with hip hop together. We went to school together. We felt like you were our friends. Our parents were the civil rights generation, and you promised us that things were going to be different and that the world had changed, and you lied. You became just like your parents and everything else. And I saw that video, and I was very, very sad for her because I think that sometimes maybe being a little too trusting when someone or some group has not proven themselves to be trustworthy can really throw you off. And I think that what happened with the Gen X group is that we got caught in this belief. I remember hearing, let me know if you remember this, where you were told that affirmative action is gonna save you. That because you're black and talented, all these companies are gonna want you. I remember I got a scholarship to go to college from this group called Black Achievers in Louisville, Kentucky, and then I went to the University of Kentucky, and I was sort of part of their Black scholarship program. When I first got there, my scholarship was only $500, believe it or not. So I didn't have enough money to do anything. I had to go. I remember searching desperately for a job, hoping Popeyes would hire me, and they didn't hire me, so it was kind of bad. I did get a job at Hardee's, and that was where those guys were using cocaine in the bathroom in the middle of the night. It was the graveyard shift. It was crazy, and that old white lady tried to sleep with me for money. I told y'all that story, and that was weird. I was like, oh my god, that's so gross. Like you're the age of my mother. Like I couldn't do that. And so anyway, that was my experience, right? And so common sense got me through all of that, right? I even at 18, I was like, I'm not messing with no drugs. I got too many drug addicts and alcoholics that I've seen in my family, and I'm not going home with this old white lady. No matter how much of my rent she's going to pay. And so anyway, so I remember going to school and I remember having one simple dream. And it was the wrong dream. And my dream was that I was going to make really good grades and get a really good job and I was going to work at some company like General Electric and get to feel important. Like I would carry a briefcase or something and have a really nice office and have a nice salary. And then I would go and buy me a nice house and a nice car and maybe get me a nice wife to go with it and kind of live that, that false dream. I think that's a false dream to some extent. And I can explain why, but that was all I could really think about. And I remember the only reason I was connected to that dream was because I had a daughter when I was 18. I discovered sex in high school, and then I discovered that pregnancy is the result of sex. And so I had this baby and I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. And I figured that education was my pathway out. The only 3 options I knew to exist were, going to school, going to the military, or continuing to work at Taco Bell or Hardee's or whatever, and I knew I didn't wanna do that. I didn't wanna go to the military because I didn't wanna get shot, but shout out to the veterans. I met a lot of military commanders this week, from the Navy mostly. These are high-ranking officials, and every time I see them, I say, "Thank you for your service, thank you for your service," because they served, I didn't have to, right?